Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create something similar to a movie. We're going to create a book class. So you can add a file called book.java. You can actually declare a class in main, or you can declare it in its own file, and main is going to know the contents of the file. So we know it's a class, name is book. Alright, so this book is going to have some variables, and the variables are going to be a name, publisher, publication date, language, and ISBN. And you can see the data types of each, and each of these are private. So what you want to do is, after you type this code, you want to run to make sure that it actually runs. And right now the only thing in main is hello world, so you should get hello world coming back. Alright, so that means that this compiled, right? So now that we have the variables for the attributes, what we want to do is actually declare the constructor. So we're going to start off. Now the constructor is going to be public. Constructors do not return values, so you never put a return type. And the name of the class is book. And that's our default constructor. Again, we run it just to make sure that it works. Alright, great. So it compiles. Now once we have the attributes of the variables and the constructor done, what we actually want to do now is create the setter functions. So declare setter functions, and our first function is going to be string name, and setters are void, so we're going to make this public, void set name. Alright, so for it to set name, we actually have to have a variable, and the variable doesn't necessarily have to be name, it could be title. So it's this.name equal title. Alright, so you're setting the class's name to the value passed by the function. So I'm just going to bring in the other ones. Alright, so we have set publisher. Again, publisher is of type string. So this set publisher is equal to publisher. Set publication, publication is integer. So this set publication date equal publication date. Language, this set language equal language. It's a string, string matches. And then we have long. So the ISBN is a long, so this set ISBN long, long, and it matches. Compile. Okay, great, no errors again. So the next step after declaring the setters, we actually want to declare getters. Alright, so the getters are actually going to be value returning functions. So again, public, and we're going to get name, so it's going to return string get name, doesn't take any parameters, going to return this.name. Alright, so I'm going to bring in the other functions. Alright, so we have get name, which returns a string. We have get publisher, which returns a string and doesn't take any values. So get publisher returns a string, this dot publisher. Publication date returns this dot publication, and it's an int. Language is a string, and ISBN is a data type long. Alright, so let's compile this, make sure that it works. Alright, great. So what we want to do now is we want to go to main and make sure that we can actually declare an instance of book. So we're going to call this my book, and it's equal to new book. Alright, again compile. Okay, so now we have the instance of book created. We actually need to add values to the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare some variables. So we have the name of the book is going to be Java 101, the publisher is going to be UNCC, publication date 2018, and the language is going to be English. Now we actually need to also declare the ISBN. So we're familiar with math.random. In order to use math.random, I'm going to import the Java math and util class. Okay, so it's math.random, and you saw that that is returning a double. We don't want it to be a double, we actually want it to be a long. Alright, now we know this is going to return a number between 0 and 1, and the ISBN needs to be a 10-digit number. So what we do is we multiply this by 9 billion, and that number is bigger than the size of an int can hold, so you need to let the compiler know that it's a long. And after we do that, we also need to add 1 billion. So this time what's going to happen is we're going to have the minimum number if it returns 0 is going to be 1 billion because we added 1 billion to it, and the maximum number if it returns 1 is going to be 9 billion. And if it does return 1, 9 billion plus 1 is going to give 10 billion. So, but we know it's never going to give exactly 1. So we're always going to be at 9,999,999,999. And let's just test that. Okay, great. So it actually turned 0, so we know the number is 1 billion. Alright, so the ISBN number. Okay, so now we actually need to assign these values to my book. So my book.set name my book dot set publisher my book dot set publication date my book dot set language my book dot set ISBN. Alright, so we've assigned these values to the actual instance of the book. Run it, make sure it compiles. It's not going to get an extra. Alright, run it again. Alright, so it's compiling, but how do we actually know that these values were assigned to the book? To do that, we can actually test. We can do a system.out.println, and we want to do mybook.get. Let's just get the name. Alright, so great. We see the name as Java 101. So what we can do now is we can actually go through and we can actually get we can get name, we can get publisher, we can get publication date, we can get language, and we can get ISBN. Alright, so we actually see that the values we stored are actually in the book. So I'm going to break here, allow you all to work on this, get to this point, and then we're going to continue the program.